Welcome to the Hinckley Institute of Politics. My name is Kendall Melvin, and I will be the host for today's Hinckley Forum. The Hinckley Institute was established in 1965 through the generous bequest of the Noble Foundation and Robert H. Hinckley. The Institute is dedicated to teaching students respect for practical politics and the principle of citizen involvement in government. The Hinckley Institute offers paid internships to students of all majors here locally, in Washington, D.C., and in over 35 countries around the globe. The Hinckley Institute also offers classes, the nation's only campaign management minor, week-long experiences to Washington, D.C., and over $70,000 in academic scholarships. We invite students to go next door or to our website, www.hinckley.utah.edu, for more information. The title of today's forum is The Sociopolitical Dimension of the Visual, Nepali Art in the Time of Transition, and I will be introducing our guest, who will then introduce our speaker. So it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. James Reese. He is the Secondary Division Director for the National Art Education Association. Thanks.
It's my pleasure to introduce Sujan Grittar. And he is an artist and an educator. And I want to point out that today's talk is sponsored by the Utah chapter of the Fulbright Association. And we'd also like to thank the Hinckley Institute for the use of this room. Previously, he was working in Nepal. He was at the Siddhikar Art Foundation, the Rainbow City Murals Art Project, and he also currently teaches as the academic program coordinator and assistant professor for the Center for the Arts at Kathmandu University. His biography is really interesting. He comes from a long line of painters and artists. He'll talk more about that, I believe, in his talk. He grew up doing art. He is a Kathmandu artist based, and he received his art education from Nepal and India with numerous national and international art workshops and regular exhibits to his credit. He practices art exclusively in public and private space, both individually and collectively. Sujan believes that art has been widely misunderstood as it has remained either within the artistic sophistication or inaccessible domain for public interactions. He believes that the first step to reinstall the importance of art is by talking about it and bringing it into public space. Into this arena, we can better appreciate contemporary art and traditional art forms. In a recent article by Artopia, he stated, "We can make art accessible to the common people. We can take it to the art to the public spaces out of the galleries, forcing the public to engage with it." Sujan.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Hinckley Institutes. Today, I'll be showing some of the slides. It won't be a lecture, but I would prefer to call it as a visual presentation, slide presentation, because I'm more like visual artist, so I'm a very visual person, so I'm better to do with visuals than the text only. So, you nearly got my name. I'm Sujan Chitrakar. So it's not Chitrakar. I'm Sujan Chitrakar, and as you said, I come from like lineage of family. Like our caste is supposed to be the painters only, but it's like breaking up now. Like it's not all Chitrakars has to become artists there. So I teach at Kathmandu University, and we started that department in 2003 with 6 students. Now we have 100 students for bachelor's courses in studio art and graphic communication. And I was also working as coordinator for Sutra, an artist-led organization where we initiated residencies and workshops, and we invited different artists, and we sent different Nepali artists to the different part of the world also. So recently, I also co-curated and also became as a creative consultant for Kathmandu International Art Festival, and our 3rd festival is due for 2015. And besides that, I'm also city organizer of this wacky kind of talk program called Pecha Kucha, if you have heard of the show. Pecha Kucha night started in Japan in 2003. It's basically like for each slide, and he gets to show only 20 slides. So it's Salt Lake City also has Pecha Kucha night. It's wonderful. If you're an artist, if you're any like a creative person, I think you should go there and participate. Salt Lake City is having Pecha Kucha night on 31st of January somewhere in Salt Lake City. I don't know much about Salt Lake City. I just came day before yesterday. So it's like if you want to go on pechakucha.org, it started in Japan. It has like something like 700 cities around the globe organize Pechakucha regularly. It's fun to be there also. I'm also city organizer of Kathmandu Pechakucha. So basically, I'm going to take you to like tour. Since I'm here in like a political chapter of this institute. Like yesterday, I was doing lectures at Westminster College, and before also I was doing some in art school, you know. But today I'm going to talk more about politics, and I'm going to show you like some context of a Nepali political situation and social situation, and how artists have reacted to that kind of situation, you know. So broadly speaking, any Nepali would want to come out and speak very good thing about Nepal, but I'm going to show you very dim picture of Nepal, and because it's the realistic picture. Any representative from Nepal Tourism Board would be like trashing me because I'm going to show you some of the darker side of Nepal, you know. But that's the reality, and we have to face that, and I have to be truthful about that also. And most of the Nepali think that Nepal is a very popular country because of Gurkhas, because of Sherpas, or because of Mount Everest, you know. But when I came to America and when I meet few Americans or some other people from other world, most of them thought that we all Nepalese are alpinists, as if like we climb Mount Everest every day, you know. But climbing Mount Everest takes like rigorous exercises. If you want to climb Mount Everest, you need to have $50,000 in your pocket for one climb. It's hard to get there. It's primarily a Sherpa, jealously guarded Sherpa vocation, and only Sherpa climb Mount Everest frequently. And there's another very interesting thing happens here is like, that's what I call like comedy of error. In 2006, 74 Somali people came to Nepal. They thought that they were going to Italy, Naples, you know. So even in Philadelphia, somebody tried to speak to me in Italian because I thought I'm from Italy. So Nepal is not in part of Nepal is not inside Italy. It's like I know most of you know about Nepal. Like it's between India and China, but the problem with Nepal is like it's sandwiched between emerging giants, and India and China are very jealous countries, jealous neighbors, you know. So Nepal has always been like tiny country which sandwiched and like politically and socially, culturally influenced by China and India. So, but I see as like Nepal, for that situation, Nepal has like some of the drawbacks, but as a young person, as an artist, I see opportunity in that, you know, because how China is growing, how India is growing, Nepal wouldn't be too laid back that we can just make that pace with them also, you know. I see that opportunity with being with that jealous neighbors also, big brother. But we usually share very love and hate relationship with India. At the same time, we also share very love and hate relationship with China because of the Maoist insurgents also, you know. Taking you to a very brief, just visual tour to Nepali background, you know. In Nepal, like Nepal is fairly small, it's 50,000 square miles. And within that small geographical content, we have 100 officially recognized caste and ethnic groups. So they speak 92 different languages. But Nepali is like our official language. But we use English, Nepali is our main language. And below sea levels also. But our geographical situation is such a harsh, such extremely diverse and very challenging that the elevation is so high. The relief is very high. You know, like it's, if you have to go to Kathmandu, the 20 miles of road will by bus or car. So this geography is such extreme. So it has become very challenging for Nepal for development also. And we do have some of the like lands with a total like desert-like space. What we are taught in school and what's realized is Nepal has this immense capacity to build this hydroelectricity. We have something like 40,000 megawatts of capacity to build. But our water resources is very high. But the problem is we have able to develop only 600 megawatts till now. And Kathmandu, Nepal suffers 12 hours of load shedding. That means no light for 12 hours every day. Can you imagine that? If I have to like organize a talk program, I'll go and see the schedule. When will the light come, you know? Then I'll have to do that. This is like small visual that I'm showing you. But this is the structure of the load shedding schedule that you have to go into. That's kind of like, if you don't have this one, you wouldn't be able to organize your day, you know. So in a way, we are celebrating like 12 hours of art hour every day, you know. But at the same time, also that's the harsh condition that what Nepal have to live in. Nepali people, they love the flaunt about like Buddha being born there, and it's like Lumbini is the birthplace of Buddha also, and we do have like Buddhism practice like all over Nepal. But irony is, very few miles away from where Buddha was born, there is a place called Gadimai Festival, where in every 5 years' time, nearly 500,000 animals are like slaughtered in the name of goddesses there. And most of the worshippers, devotees come from India, and it's crazy kind of festival where we always try to protest this festival, but since this is a communal sentiment, so nobody could really temper or like go through that and say no to that. You know. And Nepal, in this aspect, I really like Nepal because it's where women are worshipped as goddesses. You know. This is called living goddesses. This is from a Sakya clan. A Sakya is also the lineage of the Buddha. Buddha was also born in the Sakya family. So a Sakya girl is like selected from like, it's very rigorously selected. They should have like 32 auspicious like characteristic or like perfections with them. Like that are certain like scriptures, based on certain scriptures, they go through that 32 different perfections, and then they are chosen as a goddesses. And we worship that as feminine power. We worship women as like fertility, mother, you know, and even the king or like president are supposed to bow in front of them, you know, a normal human being. But at the same time, irony is we also still have some practices in the villages where witch hunt is still there, and women, poor women are tortured to death because they are just like, they are just blamed as witch. So that's the irony. And with political context, Nepal, past 20 years has become very, very interesting. If you have ever known about Nepal, like we got democracy in 1990 after long people's movement. Within that 20 to 23 years, we already have 20 prime ministers. 3 kings, two are already assassinated in the royal massacre. 1 king is already dethroned. We have 1 prime minister, one president, and we have 130 political parties registered. That's very, very democratic. Yeah. Unlike America, where you have only 2 parties. You know. So that's too extreme. We have lots of gray area in between. You know. So that's beauty also. That's very challenging also. Like I think that's the way people are saying their way out right after they got democracy. You know. So, but this kind of situation that we live in, I think that's also like very harsh situation. But at the same time, also it offers lots of opportunity for artists like us. You know, because there are so many things to be done. There's so many things to be solved. You know, and there's so many challenges that we have to face. You know? And I'm going to talk about like four of my friends today who primarily works on socio-political issues in Nepal. So Ashmina Ranjit is currently in US on a Fulbright, second Fulbright research program, and she also runs this artist-led organization called Lasana, and she's very feminist and politically oriented artist. Sunil Sigdel is based in Pokhara. Pokhara is like valley, like very similar valley to Salt Lake City. It has beautiful lake also and mountains. And his work is primarily based on politics. And Hitman Gurung comes from this group of like caste. They are mostly into Gurkha's regiments. So his parents and his great-grandparents were in the Gurkha regiments, but he opted to become artist. So his works are very fascinating, but I have only one work to show of him. Manish Origen is one of my fresh graduate who became like pretty notorious and nearly went to jail because of his work, and he was trying to protest against some of the religious aspect also. First of all, I'll show you some of the works by Ashmina Ranjit. So this is the work Ashmina Ranjit did in 2000, and it was called A Cultural Body. So she was trying to propagate like how women are considered as the flag bearer of culture. You know, a mother teaches her son or daughter about the cultural heritage and so many things. Even like places like Nepal, like women have like different kind of costumes than men do. You know, in one festival, women have to wear this kind of dress. In another festival, women might have to wear green colors. You know, and we have a different kind of cultural boundaries, cultural like limitations that women have to go through. So in a way, that's a very good thing that women are the flag bearers, But at the same time, also it's the confinement for the women. They cannot move out. Like if you ever heard of sari, that's even like Indians that wear. It's nearly like 12 yards long, and you just have to wrap all over your body. And it takes nearly 1 hour for a woman to get dressed up, properly dressed up. Whereas a man pulls on his jeans pant and go out to work, So you already have like 1 hour, plus minus 1.5 hour lost for just like wearing that costume. So I think like that's kind of confinement is also a problem for the women, because women has always a problem of like competing with men or like coming to that gender equality, even in workplace or any other places, to grow as a equal human being. So Ashwini talked very vocally about that work with her culture body, and even with ornaments also. She was doing lots of prints on cloth and exhibiting in a gallery. So some of the works might be very outrageous for you, because even it's like outrageous for like other places also, because here few works are quite subtle, few works are very on the face, but I really appreciate that also. In Nepal, there is this like weird kind of like, there was this weird kind of attitude that women are supposed to have their hair plaited, nicely plaited, and they use this ribbon called chulto, red, and red we consider the auspicious color, And when women get married, when people get married, women they especially wear red cloths. They don't wear white clothes, because when only like widow wear white clothes, that's very cultural contrast, visual contrast with America or West, where in America like bride wears white, but in Nepal only the widow, or even in India only the widow wears white, So that's very cultural kind of difference. But red has always been auspicious, like considered an auspicious color. Even if you see this tika on the forehead, you'll see red color, So the chulto is free flowing, but they have to have chulto, And I consider that confinement as like good in a way if they have to only work in the kitchen, Because if you leave your hair open, then like free flowing, then some strand of hair might fall into your food. But that's like a good way to deal with it. But at the same time also, that's a confinement for women. You can't be free, You have to have certain kind of like structure. You have to have certain kind of like characteristic. I think that was what Ashwini Ranjit was telling, is trying to impose what they have to do with their own body. I think that was a wonderful idea. Like she was trying to propagate that, no, it's my body and I can do whatever I want to do it. If I shave my hair, also it's my head. You don't have to tell me what I'm going to do. So she was having that. She's very like vocal about this cultural burdens that women have to face in Nepal, and she did lots of like hair drawings or free-flowing hair drawings, and she made this big chulto in the middle of the gallery. And this exhibition also traveled to Japan. So this is where I'm just coming to. Ashwini Ranjit talks about lots of feminist work, India, and she wanted to take us all the viewers and audience inside the womb, That's where we come from, So in this one, she created a room inside, just brought that like silk red colored draperies as a blood, and in next frame, like she just takes us to the main source where the blood is coming out. So like she was trying to celebrate that womanhood also, and see like how, because it tends in most of third world countries and other places, women are always not treated equal to where in America like. It has very respected kind of status, But if you go to third world countries, it's like always the women are the second level, like citizens, And she also invited like some of the girls and women from the community and asked them to like. She just made a small dress, and she asked them to tie red thread, and she was talking about the menstrual, the women's body, this menstrual, and how the women cleanse themselves every month, So that was trying to celebrate the womanhood, the feminine power. So talking about that same thing, Ashwini Ranjit in 2009 did this very kind of funny kind of work here. What she did was she made a dress out of sanitary napkins. That's quite outrageous, I guess. She had a long thread, with red thread, and she was giving that trade to every audience. So if I would have to tell you a context for this. In Nepal, like still that's like very weird, but it's still practiced in my home also, in rural areas also. When women are in their menstrual period, for 4 or 5 days, they are considered untouchables. That's like kind of, it might be very shocking for you. But in villages, women are put in barns. They are kept in barns for 4 days. And they are untouchables, So, but what Ashmita Ranjit does here is, she's giving that red thread as a symbol of blood. So either they're making everyone untouchable, or either she's making them understand that this is a part of her physiology, biology, So she came up with this simple idea, like what she did was, in the toilet, nearby public toilet, and that was a simple idea of hygiene, A woman doesn't have to suffer for 4 days or 5 days every month, just big obligations. So, Ashmita Ranjit, I think this was very powerful work, at least for me, because like I see that every month, It happens to my wife also. But a good thing that she gets like 4 days of free time. She just relaxes and goes around and drinks, But at the same time also, that limitation always makes them feel like not included within that periphery. They can't go to like temples. They can't touch elder peoples. I think that's weird kind of, So that's what Ashmita Ranjit talks about in her work also. That's the public toilet she draped with the sanitary napkins. She must have spent a lot of money on that. So at the end, she just brought that dress into the gallery. But most of the anti-feminists wouldn't like her work because she's very bold, she's very blunt. She's just on your face, She tells you on your face. But I appreciate because she talks lots about feminist power and she's very bold about like regarding so many things she has to say in a country like Nepal or even in India also. So this is the work she did in Japan. James, you might want to know what is this, She invited lots of like women's, girls, even from adolescents to old age, and asked them to make dress. And she gave her like a bunch of paintings and crayons, everything, and asked them to like paint, celebrate their womanhood in the work, And then she hung that work in its downward-looking triangle to denote the feminine power. Here she brings the same kind of like, it might be the energy, the source of life, where we came from, that's womb, So that was Ashmita Ranjit. I'll talk about some about like Sunil Sigdel. Sunil Sigdel was very vocal about Maoist movement in Nepal. Sunil Sigdel, what Sunil Sigdel thinks that Maoist in Nepal was the movement of Mao. If you, how many of you know about like Maoist movement and civil war of Nepal? If you don't know, I'll have to just. Okay, in Nepal, when we got democracy from a king in 1990, for 5 years' time, it was like tribal. Like this, everyone wanted to become prime minister. It was like, we always call it practicing democracy. We are practicing democracy. For nearly 20 years, we have been practicing democracy. But at one point, when Bavaram Bhattarai and Prachanda, Pushpakamal Dahal didn't want to like negotiate with the mainstream politicians, they went to jungle and they followed the signing part from Peru. They have the very, very similar kind of attitude with the insurgents. They started in the western part of Nepal, and there was civil war for nearly 10 years, and nearly 20,000 people were killed during that time. And they especially brought in the poor villages, They influenced poor villages. They gave they showed big hopes and dreams for them. And poor villages, they went to like war with the government. So for nearly 10 years, and they took their name from, they were following the part from the signing part from Peru. So it was completely like civil war that's happening. It was kind of, many business was closed down. So what Sunil Sigdel was trying to say here, Mao Zedong, blind fatally, so he has put his eyes closed and looking somewhere else, whereas like Mao's portrait, you can see it's clearly visible there. And in a way, Maoism, he doesn't talk about religion. So, but whereas the Maoists from Nepal, they have taken up Maoism or that communism as a mockery about like putting this depicting God and goddesses in the face of Mao there, and even the hammer and sickle as a symbol of the Mao. But whereas they have like guns and so many like symbols that he's trying to bring in as Maoist, as a new religion for Maoists from Nepal, Maoism as. And this is a very funny picture. I see like this Mao in the very infant stage, but you'll see like this camouflage, the comeback patterns over there. It's the god, the main god Vishnu, and how Maoists from Nepal has sheltered that ideology of Mao in Nepal, and how people have interesting narrative kind of image that he brought in. And Sunil Sigdel also like talks lots about how a cultural baggage we have to carry in Nepal. So this is a newly born baby, kind of like tattooed all over this with local patterns, in the body, and like his those are scriptures, like texts that you find in scriptures and temples and manuscripts all over Nepal. So he's trying to like kind of like protesting or trying to show some picture how Nepali people have to like suffer, carry that burden, cultural burden there. This work is by Hitman Gurung, and I'm just showing one of his work today. Hitman Gurung belongs to this Gurung clan. Like here, mostly they went for the. They are recruited in the army because they are supposed to be very, very brave. They are called Gurkhas also, and most of the like they went to Indian regiment or British Gurkha regiments. But here he has appropriated this work from Michelangelo's Pieta. So when Mother Mary holds Jesus Christ right after this crucifixion, so she is like very contemplating on the, but here a local like very poor woman from village, she has like buried there as a son. A mother has sad story to say. But in that work, Hitman Gurung has a small collage of different people that were lost or killed in the war. This is seen from a gallery where this is like those blue dressed people are police. So I'm going to show you some of the works by Manish Harijan, who is in the right corner. Manish Harijan did one exhibition in 2012 November, and he called that exhibition as The Rise of Collateral. Manish Harijan also built a caste of untouchable caste. So in the villages, they are still considered as an untouchable caste. But whereas Manish Harijan, he was also trying to deal with this globalization, how images has influenced each other, how globalization has affected the daily life, cultural, it has affected the culture of like so many things. And so in Rise of Collateral, he was doing a series of paintings that brought in the image like Captain America and Superman, and merged with the icons of like Hindu icons and God and goddesses and Buddha like that. But Siddhartha Art Gallery is a 3-story gallery. In first 2 floors, Manish Harijan's works were displayed. Some of the works remaining from the previous exhibition galleries thought of that. So in that work, this image was displayed. It is by Sudip Balla. This is the king who conquered like unified Nepal. So in the sculptures, in artwork, in visuals, he is shown like this one. So it's like I unified Nepal. So Nepal is one. So it's Sudip Balla, however, made this work during the time when political tremors were going. So people are trying to talk about federalism, trying to like, many of the people also asked for the different state, different country, The Nepal was breaking up at some point. So he was very like kind of distressed, and he was giving this middle hand salute to people. Hindu Federation people, some representatives came to Gal Hindus. So they saw this work, they were very upset. And when there is also goddesses that's worshipped widely in either Bengal side, in India, even in Nepal also. She is consort of Lord Shiva, one of the three like major deities of Hinduism. So she's also consort, but ferocious consort. But here what it does is the Kali, a dark girl in the head of like with hair like Medusa, in the dress miniskirt and in the superwoman's costume, she gives like middle hand salute to people, But I think this work is very feminist. But the Hindu fundamentalists saw this work as very provocative, very mockery to their religion, you know. But with this visual, I really appreciate this work because the women's in Nepal, in Asia, in South Asia especially, India, if you say Bangladesh, if you say this third share, you know, I think an artist finds that middle finger is, I think, it's like courageous work. You know. I would appreciate if any women would do that. You know. But here, a women came, few, some representatives, and they trashed Manish Harijan in the gallery. He was threatened with death, and police came. The gallery was sealed. The paintings was brought down. They were taken into the custody. We all went and protested against this one. And this made headlines in Nepal. It made through like lots of headlines, and it was like in internet also, like many people are discussing about art and politics and freedom of expression, how far we can go or we cannot go, you know. So for an artist like I should be able to express anything I want to do it, but at the same time also how far I should go, how much I should intervene into other people's domain also, you know. So it brought in so many different dialects that we never thought of before also. And at the same time also, this gave tremendous opportunity for Nepali artists, and it gave tremendous opportunity for other people from around the globe to look into Nepali artists, because from Asia, from America, not from America, but like mostly from Europe, like so many people were excited about seeing what's happening with Nepal, you know. And they were so concerned about the safety of Manish Harijan and the gallery owner also. So this is the same work that he did, one of the work he did during the exhibition. We had nearly 33,000 god and goddesses in Hinduism. You won't believe that. 33,000 million or something like that. It's like, it's far more. I have maybe like some 1,000 god and goddesses for me, you know, in my name. So it's like that many god and goddesses. So Manish Harijan, the auspicious god and goddess are considered to be the higher level. So, but he did all in the Superman costumes, a superhero's costume from Hollywood. What you have in West is, if something bad thing happens, then a superhero will come and save you, you know. But in Nepal, we'll go to temple, or in India, you'll go to temple, because like, you always see god and goddesses as superpower. So how he is trying to negotiate, bring those kind of two kind of culture into one. So he was making as a Nataraja, Lord Shiva's poster in the Superman costume also, and even he was trying to bring in Ghost Rider, Buddha, and Laughing Buddha, and trying to merge those kind of imageries, you know. I think it was very funny and very, very satirical at the same time. And it's like, I think this is also like very contemporary kind of issues where people are so connected with the social networks, and the boundaries have been blurred, you know. Only the political boundaries remain, but so many boundaries have been blurred. Like open source has brought in so many information to us. So I think these are very interesting images, but at the same time also the works were misinterpreted, and I think there was this work was a little bit misinterpreted, where Captain America he says Captain America playing with Bhairava, one of the incarnation of Lord Shiva, but people also try to misinterpret that word, that Captain America is beating Bhairava, you know. So it's kind of like, it also looks very like America is trying to dominate Nepal also. It might be politically, yeah, I can say that maybe Manish Harijan was trying to say the same thing also, you know. But we talk lots about like artist freedom and everything, but this case was very, very bluntly settled down. The gallery owner has to close the gallery for some time. She has to sign a paper that she wouldn't further exhibit Manish Harijan's work. But Manish Harijan went to England and Denmark for few months, just like to calm down the situation. And wrestling went on. But as an artist, for us, like tying up that, like not giving that freedom of expression was very odd for us. So what we did in 2013 was, we have this festival in Nepal called Cow Festival, or Gai Jatra, that happens once a year. You have one day to mock anyone in the world, you know. You can mock anybody. But in 600 years back, a king, one of the queens of a Pratamala king, she was like unbearably crying because she just lost her son. So the king, nobody could console her that, no, it happens to everyone, you know. So he had this idea of like asking all the people, whoever dies in one year, that year, so they have to bring a parade in the town. So it just makes fun of everything, like make like mockery, and it goes around the town. So if in that day cow festival, you'll see lots of parade, and you know that so many people died in Kathmandu during that year. So if somebody dies in ABC's home, then he or that family has to bring one parade. So that's like very kind of cultural festival we have, very interesting also, because we got that only one day in long history. Every time like we have been like mocking anyone. You can mock any detector also. So that's fun of having that day. But artists chose that day to do a parade in Kathmandu against that freedom of expression. So we call it Kala Jatra, or art festival. So most of the people went into town and did it. I'm just bringing some images. And in the gallery, there's some imageries that were directly like suffocating, confining the freedom of expressions in the form of. And another work by Sanjeev Marjan, and this is Manish Sarijan and his work back there. So trying to remind people that what happened during the time of rise of collaterals. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the images because I thought I'm coming into the Hekle Institute of Politics, so I'll talk about some of the political things what happened there in Nepal. In America and in many of the European countries, graffiti or wall murals are considered to be illegals. So you're not supposed to tax anywhere. Graffiti is not done anywhere. But in Nepal, the funniest thing is the political parties, they do graffitis. They do all the slogans, the writing, and banner paintings on the walls. If you see, if you go around Kathmandu anywhere, they will say like they will do posters or long wall writings on the wall. So what now artists are doing is trying to like go there and do graffitis. So the street art culture is happening, like is vibrant right now in Nepal. Many of the artists are going to the street and just painting and trying to protest against what government has to say, and just different socio-political issues also. So I'm just bringing few images here, and here is one very interesting image of is actually painting, series of paintings that Make Limbu did. But this is these are the Maoist leaders who have different kind of dialogues. But you will see only this dialogue, this bubble speech, but all bubbles are cancelled. You don't know what they are speaking about. You see only imageries there, and in some places you see only like some deja vu or some guns with your hands also. It gives like very funny kind of picture. So he did a series of work in this comic kind. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about this workshop that we did. A friend of mine from California, Michelle Johnson, came up with this idea called Federal Life. So we try to invite 22 different artists from Nepal, different ethnic background, different age groups, and different art school also. So Nepal is struggling to write constitutions for past 6-7 years. The first constitution assembly election happened in 2008, but after 5 years they couldn't deliver the constitution. And last November, another constitution assembly election happened, and we are giving nearly 2 years. Nepal is trying to go into the federal state, where like everyone has that inclusion in the constitution also. So, but the politics is the least talk about stuff in Nepal. The politics is considered to be dirty game. You don't have to talk about politics. You do your own work, Even so many people, like even in schools, in art school, like everyone talks. No, politics is not your job. Either it's political scientist's job or politicians. You don't have to talk about politics. So what we did here was, because we are badly governed, it's our fault, because we don't know, we know less about politics. So we try to bring in like different artists and try to like do workshop with them. So I'll show you this if this video plays, but I don't think the sound comes here. that was teaser for our exhibition that we did in Kathmandu. But what we tried to do then was trying to encourage young people to talk about politics, trying to let them understand about federalism also, and how federalism is like, it's a beautiful pattern where anyone can get included, you know. It's not just like leftover, but like federalism brings that everyone into one voice. They have their voice to say also. Whereas before it was just neglected, so many people were neglected. So we asked them to do works in strict format of 5x6 canvas, but try to find freedom within that periphery, you know. So I'm bringing on a few of the works. Some were very confused about federalism. They thought that we are becoming a ship, so we are just following randomly what other people are thinking, you know. We might have to just step back, you know. And some brought into this idea of like kids doing some graffitis, but we recently had new national anthem. Before it was only about king. After king was dethroned, we have new national anthem that talks about people only. So I don't know national anthem, because national anthem basically, the national anthem in Nepal, you have to ask your kids, small kids, you know. So here is a beautiful like this national anthem is very beautiful. In like somebody said that that's a 10 beautiful national anthem from the world. I think the least one was from Britain or somewhere like that. But I think that somebody said that this was 10 beautiful national anthem because that unites people, you know. But this was very beautiful image of how a school kid was trying to do some graffiti, writing national anthem, and trying to bring people together, where we have like, there's different talk about political parties become fragmenting, people becoming like, people having that like love and hate relationship with neighbors and with different ethnic group, you know. So federalism brought in this kind of idea of like merging and finding that unification in diversity. And this was another work done by Sudeep Balla. And somebody talked about this decentralization also, because Nepal is very Kathmandu-centric, and everyone has to come to Kathmandu for a small job also, you know. So this girl, an artist, came all the way from like village just to Kathmandu because she wanted to become an artist. So that's like federalism might bring in the idea of decentralization also. She was talking about it, you know. So and this work is done by one of my students. So he brought in different cloth patterns worn by different community groups. So he just made one big canvas and just pasted on the canvas, you know. I think this was a beautiful idea how all people can have their own space in the country or anywhere in the world, you know. So that brings a harmony also. I think that was a very beautiful work, I must say, you know. So I'm ending with this slide. You must be thinking that I'm giving you so much of pessimistic idea thing about Nepal, you know. But that's the reality. But I think growing up or being born in Nepal is, for me, that's like, for me it's challenge also, but for me it's big opportunity also, you know. Because in Nepal we can do so many things, we have to do so many things also. I think I feel really blessed in being born there, you know. But I'm very, very hopelessly optimistic about this situation of Nepal. People tell me that, why don't you like stay back in America? I said, I don't need it. I have to go back to Nepal and work there. So I'm very hopelessly optimistic about Nepal. Like we have done so many things that like we started so many things from scratch. In Nepal, if you have to work, you have to find your own way. You have to carve your own way. It was like really very difficult situation there. But at some point, like we do feel frustrated, and like in Nepal, like so many people do feel frustrated. But every time I feel frustrated, like I just go through this Robert Frost poem, and I just love these 4 lines, you know. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That's a beautiful word. I every time go back whenever I feel frustrated. And I think like I would love to meet Robert Frost if you're here. You know. But that's all I have to say today. Thank you. Yes.
Just your personal opinion, do you think an artist's work has to be controversial in order for it to have an effective political statement?
No, I don't think so. But sometimes artists' work doesn't speak so well, because most of the time artists tend